In the early 1800s, along the rugged hinterlands of what is today KwaZulu-Natal, a bold young leader named Shaka Zulu rose from obscurity, re-engineered the machinery of war, and crafted a state that would rewrite the rules of conflict in southern Africa. His transformation of the small Zulu chiefdom into the formidable Zulu Kingdom scratched deep grooves in the soil of history. But how much of this is sheer legend, and how much is the hard-earned reality of discipline, tactics, and power? Early life. Shaka was born circa 1787 to Senzangakona, a chief of the Zulu clan, and Nandi of the Langeni. Because the marriage did not fully comply with the clan's customs, society regarded young Shaka and his mother with suspicion and disdain. When Nandi fled with him around age 6, the pair took refuge with the Mthethwa under Dingiswayo, a powerful chief who recognized Shaka's potential and brought him into military service. In 1816, after his father's death, Shaka assumed the Zulu leadership under Dingiswayo's endorsement. At that moment, the Zulu clan numbered perhaps fewer than 1,500 people. But rather than accept the status quo, Shaka immediately launched a program of reform, discipline, and conquest. From the outset, he ruled with an iron hand. His reign would become one of both visionary change and ruthless enforcement, reorganizing warfare. Shaka's first major step was to remodel how his warriors fought. Pre-Shaka, the Nguni battle approach tended to rely on thrown spears and hit-and-run skirmishes. Shaka shifted this paradigm. He issued a shorter stabbing spear often called the Ikulua, mandated the large cowhide shield, Isihlangu, be gripping the body at close range, and trained his men for brutal face-to-face, hand-to-hand combat. He also reorganized his forces into age regiments, Amabuto, each lodged at designated kraals, Amakonda, and distinguished by uniform regalia and dedicated commanders. The hallmark tactical formation became the Horns of the Buffalo. In this maneuver, the main force, the chest, pinned the enemy. Two flanking horns swept around to encircle, and a reserve, the loins, closed any gaps. Through this system, Shaka transformed the Zulu army into a shock force defined by speed, envelopment, and lethal close combat. According to some accounts, an Impai army could march up to 80 kilometers, 50 miles in a day, living off requisitioned cattle and grain from conquered kraals. Whether every number is exactly accurate matters less than the certainty. Shaka's forces moved faster and struck harder than previous regional armies. Campaigns of expansion. With his reorganized army ready, Shaka turned outward. He first defeated local rivals such as the Langeni swiftly and decisively. In the early 1820s, he cornered and crushed the powerful Nwandwe under Zwide, absorbing defeated survivors into his ranks and expanding Zulu power across the southern Nguni sphere. This rapid ascent coincided with what historians call the Mfecane or Difakana, an era of widespread warfare, migration, and social upheaval across southern Africa. While early narratives attributed massive casualties and population displacement directly to Zulu expansion, more recent scholarship argues for a more complex picture. Drought, trade disruption, slave raiding, and the rise of multiple warrior states all played into the chaos. Regardless of cause, by around 1823, the Zulu realm had become a regional power. Through a combination of fear, force, incorporation, and political assimilation, Shaka secured cattle herds, subdued neighboring chiefs, and built a system that bound war services, regiments, and cattle wealth together. This was empire building in the African interior. Brutal, swift, and unrelenting. Rule and ruthlessness. Shaka's reign was not only about war, it was about restructuring society. His centralization of authority meant that chiefs once independent now served under Zulu suzerainty, often keeping their posts but paying tribute and providing warriors. Conquered men might be assimilated into Zulu regiments, retrained and rehoused in the royal kraal. The king was also feared. In 1827, his mother Nandi died, an event that precipitated waves of mourning orders and alleged mass executions of anyone judged insufficiently grief-stricken. While the exact numbers are contested, The incident is widely cited as evidence of the extremism toward the end of his rule. His domestic rule combined indiscipline for the willful with discipline for the willing. Warriors underwent harsh training, barefoot marches, strict drills, and those who failed or resisted faced execution. Many of the tales around Shaka exaggerate the violence. Historians caution that early European chroniclers often dramatized events. Nevertheless, the core is clear. Shaka ruled not only by strategy but by fear. He shaped a society in which loyalty, military service, and centralized power became the dominant ethos. The fall of a warrior king and the survival of a state. In September 1828, Shaka was assassinated near his capital at Dukusa, formerly Stangier, by his half-brothers Dingaan and Malangana, assisted by an Induna named Mbopa. His death marked the end of the first phase of the Zulu Kingdom, but not the end of the state he forged. Dingaan succeeded him, moved the royal kraal to Mngungundlovu, and faced a new set of challenges: the migration of Boer voortrekkers across the frontier and a shifting colonial landscape. In 1838, after the killing of the voortrekker leader Piet Retief and several hundred settlers at the behest of Dingaan, the famous Battle of Blood River followed, a stark encounter of Zulu tactics meeting settler firepower. Subsequently, Mapande, Dingaan's brother, took the throne via alliance with the Voortrekkers. Then, under Cetshwayo in 1879, the kingdom faced the British in the Anglo-Zulu War. At the Battle of Isandlwana, the Zulu army under Cetshwayo achieved a shock victory, deploying many of the principles Shaka had taught. But the war ended in catastrophic defeat. At Ulundi, the royal kraal burnt, and the kingdom's independence was effectively over. Through all this, the enduring legacy of Shaka's reforms, discipline, age cohorts, tactics of envelopment, regimental identity, continued to shape Zulu warfare and identity far beyond his life. Legacy and meaning. When historians ask, did Shaka change African warfare? The answer is nuanced. He did not invent war, age grades, or regiments, but he took existing social structures and repurposed them for large-scale warfare and state formation. The shift to stabbing spears rather than throwing ones, the formalization of the horns formation, the centralized barracks and regimental system, all made the Zulu army of the early 19th century a force unlike many of its contemporaries. Importantly, the Zulu Kingdom he built had staying power. It survived his death and evolved through colonial challenge, even if it ultimately fell to British might. His changes mattered because they built an army that could adapt, mobilize quickly, and impose authority at scale. In that sense, Shaka did more than wage wars. He created a war state. Yet it is equally important to resist the myth. Shaka was not a lone genius unconnected to his times. His reforms built upon regional traditions. The wild migrations and deaths of the Mfecane are now seen as the result of many overlapping causes, not just Zulu expansion. Some of the more lurid tales about mass slaughter and global effect are inflations of later retellings. Scholarly caution urges us to hold the legend lightly. Thus, Shaka's true significance lies in his role as a systems maker, a commander who formalized martial innovation, and a ruler who fused military, social, and political power. His story resonates today because it forces us to see how leadership, organization, and brutality can combine in state-making, and how those forces ripple through history far beyond one king's short life. And that's the incredible story of Shaka Zulu, the warrior who changed African warfare forever. If you found this journey through history as fascinating as we did, hit that like and make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious and stay legendary.